You could say the old man who lives in the manor off Crowley Road is a little different. He keeps to himself and rarely comes out of his house, only to go into town. My friends and I have been curious about him for a while. So this Halloween, we have decided that the local haunted house is a bit outdated, and that as a group, we're all ready for a real thrill. Tonight is the night we will break into the old man's home and see what he is really up to. Some say you can hear faint screams echoing out of the manor. Others say that the people who go into the old man's mansion never come out. But those are just made up stories, right? Who cares? What can an old man do for 4 kids anyway? Give us candy? That kind of stuff is just a hoax. As we were coming up the path to the mansion, the air felt colder and thinner. Fog coaxed the ground like a blanket, making it hard to see what was in front of me. The mansion creaked as the wind blew by. We could hear faint screams. Maybe it's the wind? The manor was dark and empty looking from the outside, almost like it was straight out of a horror film. Slowly but surely, we walked up to the house. Each step on the old wooden porch was accompanied by a low, moaning creak. All of a sudden, I felt a chill go up my spine, and the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. Accompanying this feeling was a chilly breeze that kissed my face. I started to back up slowly. Something felt wrong, but my friends pushed me towards the door and I tripped, hitting the door as it slowly opened. It hit the back wall with a thud, and dust blew through the threshold. There were gasps behind me, and as I slowly looked up from the cold cobblestone ground, the old man was standing right in front of me. He, atop me, instilled my soul with fear. I tried to scream, but nothing came out. Following the ghastly incident, I checked back on the conditions of the others. I glanced over my left shoulder to see that my friends had fainted. Suddenly, the man dragged me into the house, then my friends. To follow, he locked the doors, windows, and left the room, leaving me with my friends alone in the creepy old mansion. I was soon able to wake them by shaking them, but it took a while. We were tied to aluminum piping that lined the perimeter of the room. I was surrounded by beakers and other items of scientific significance. I noticed a jumble of elements on the wall: iron, oxygen, indium, and radon. Like a young child, I, in a hurry, unscrambled the puzzle, and the letters in sequence spelled none but one word: Inferno. It smelled of chemicals in the ominous manner, and I noticed that the floor beneath me was set in an odd, yet uniform pattern. As I looked around, I realized something. The floor, it was a chessboard. We all sat on the cold ground, grabbing our knees, compressing our bodies, and not letting our body warmth escape us. We all rambled about the various myths we had heard about the life of our captor. It was 1944. Our warden was born. It's rumored that he is such a bad guy due to the loss of his parents at a young age. He had only seen his parents once, when he escaped from his mother's womb. While his father was deployed in the Second World War, his mother cared for him diligently, and he had developed a strong attachment to her. It was 3 weeks into the life of Mr. Novak that the terrors of life had begun to inflict their evils upon him. It was January 13th when they had received the news that his father was missing in action. Devastated, his poor mother could barely cope. She began drinking, an unholy amount, but she was still able to provide tender love and care for her newborn child. But soon enough, a telegram came confirming the death of his noble father. Miss Novak undertook a flurry of emotions, and she was no longer able to endure the pain of lost love. It was before long that young Charles, or Charlie as he was called then, was handed over to foster care, as his mother had taken her own life. Charles learned to live a normal life without the care of his biological parents. Soon enough, foster care started to take its toll on him. He was soon kicked out of school for being a disruptive student, as he was often bored after completing his work. School was easy for Charlie, and he was a curious child. His parents disowned him for yet another screw-up. The curious child roamed the streets, discovering the world around him with the guidance of no one but his own. He began conducting experiments on everyday objects in the world around him. As he grew up and had developed into a young man, his curious nature had stuck with him. He continued his experiments and was often ridiculed for testing on animals, an act considered very inhumane. It was now soon enough that as a group we had begun speculating, and within seconds it had become apparent that we were his next subjects.